So, you guys have made it. You have made it to the end of term. Now, this last term, these last 6 weeks have been long, they've been different, they've been challenging, and actually, for a number of you, they're not the 6 weeks that we were anticipating, but you have managed to get yourself through. Now, what my assembly is today is very much focusing on half term. We've been working towards this point, we've been knowing that half term was coming, and actually we've now got the thought of, well, after half term, we're back into this. We're back into remote learning, which is even more important of what I want to talk about this assembly. Now, you need to use half term to reset, to relax, to get yourself in a position where you are comfortable moving forward. Now, we know what it's like, we all know what it's like to feel stressed. Feeling under pressure is actually a normal part of life. But sometimes becoming overwhelmed by stress can actually lead to mental health problems or make your existing problems worse. Half term is such a fantastic opportunity for you all to take a moment to think about your well-being, find advice or support if you feel that you're becoming a little bit overwhelmed. This bridge is a really good analogy and actually be used to when we talk about that. When a bridge is carrying too much weight, it will eventually collapse. It is possible to see the warning signs before this happens. The bridge would start to bow, buckle or creak, as you can see. The same principle can be applied to human beings, so can be applied to you. With excessive demands and challenges placed upon your bridges, there may be early warning signs. However, it can creep up on us, resulting in an unexpected breakdown, and that is ultimately what we do not want. Millions of us around the UK are expecting such high levels of stress at the moment with COVID, remote learning and all sorts of different challenges that we're not used to expecting, or we're not used to. Some of these stresses are, that can be seen: work, relationships, exams, knowing that they're cancelled, not knowing what's going on, worries, guilt, pressures. They're all significant factors of mental health that could, lead to anxiety and things like that. But individually, we need to now understand what is causing us perhaps stress and learn what steps we need to take in order to reduce it for ourselves and those around us. Now, it is really important to acknowledge that stress is both inevitable and unavoidable. We're all going to do that. We've all felt stress at times in our life. Stress targets the weakest part of our physiology or character. If you're prone to headaches or eczema, sometimes stress will flare this up. If you have low levels of patience or tolerance of others, that will be the first area to present when under times of stress. Stress isn't avoidable, but it is completely manageable. Not at all times, but this is what I want to talk to you about. A key action in order to minimise risk is to identify stress-related problems as early as possible so that action can be taken. In 2002, this diagram, an explanation of the stress bucket was produced. I've not yet met anyone that actually doesn't relate to this, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. It works on the basis that we all have this stress bucket, the size of which differs according to our levels of resilience. If our stress bucket overflows, we potentially enter into this fight, flight or freeze mode, and we all have one of those that we go into. Stress also causes our brain to flood with a chemical called dopamine. The net result is that stressed people cannot then think clearly enough or generally don't make good decisions. Another potential consequence of stress bucket overflow is snapping, which is when we say or do things in the heat of the moment that we probably particularly are not proud of and wish we could take back. This in turn could have a real negative impact on our friendships, relationships, and if I'm completely honest, we've all been there. We've all said things that we regret and think, once you've said it, you think, shouldn't have said that. You might not think it straight away, but actually when you calm down, you always reassess that. And I've been there, and I've certainly done that, working from home, being with just my husband and not seeing my family. We've all been there. Now, what healthy people have on stress bucket, therefore, is something called a tap. This is a relaxing or an endorphin-produced activity that you can incorporate on a regular basis that allows stress to drain out of the bucket, meaning that never gets to a point of overflow. Creating this sense of an effective tap on the stress bucket, therefore, involves identifying and incorporating activities that provide distraction, self-expression and endorphin production, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about. This is your half-term challenge. Exercise is an obvious and healthy way to create endorphins. My sports story, I'm a PE teacher, I'm a dance teacher. This is part of helping my stress bucket. Sport is part of my tap. I know that if I do a workout, I dread it. My alarm goes off and I think, oh no, I really don't want to be doing this workout. But as soon as I've done it, I feel so much better. It's time for me to kind of switch my brain off. Another thing that I do, and I think a number of you know me really well, I love going for a dog walk. My dog Ralph, whenever I feel stressed or whenever I just need to get out of the house, I take him for a walk, and I love it. You can get lost in the woods or down the beach, and that is ultimately absolutely my tap. Now, another thing you could think about is the arts. Distraction, self-expression. It can also be achieved through music, drawing, painting, craft, writing, dance, any other artistic things. And actually, art therapy is often used alongside more traditional methods to aid the recovery of people with mental illnesses. And they're often really effective ways of articulating your emotion, and it's a way to be heard or understood. So if you're somebody that struggles getting your points across, that's also a fantastic way. Mindfulness, we tend to associate mindfulness with meditation, and that is one way it could be achieved. However, the term mindfulness is actually a description of a headspace in which one is neither dwelling in the past or worrying about the future. It doesn't mean you have no thoughts at all, but the thoughts that you have are acknowledged. And that's also something fantastic. We've heard about mindfulness. You could pull in the art. I always, drawing or colouring, something like that. Now, this is a really important one for a number of you, especially with my year group, year 11. I know a lot of you, I've been waking up at midday, and actually getting the right amount of good quality sleep is absolutely crucial to good mental health. Children like you need an average of 8 to 9 hours sleep. Some like to think of sleep as worry flossing. On a psychological level, it's where our nerve cells clean themselves. They cannot do this whilst they're awake. So if you're tired, you're essentially having this dirty mind. In terms of learning, sleep is when information is downloaded onto our long-term memory banks, and that is why generally there's an advantage to get a good night's sleep before an exam than to spend all night cramming. And actually, it's also when we're asleep, it untangles all our niggling anxieties. The enemy of sleep is overstimulation, and actually in most recent years this has come from technology, and you are so, the age you're living in is so different. Phones and tablets emit this blue light, and which in turn suppresses our, secretion of melatonin, the hormone we need to drift off to sleep. And actually it's recommended that we don't interact with any kind of technology even 2 hours before TV. And I know that's a personal one for me. I always go upstairs and I put the TV on. But actually, that is actually something that maybe you could think about over half term. Could you introduce a family rule that, maybe that you all put your phones in a pot, or, leave your phone somewhere, and actually maybe you'll have a good night's sleep. It's really important as well that you look after yourself and think about self-care in order for recovery and maintenance. A daily practice of taking time out of your everyday to look after your mind, body and soul is self-care. You may already be practicing self-care without realising. I tend to wake up a little earlier than technically I should, and I like to potter around, make a cup of tea, and then often go for a dog walk. This for me represents a really good period of peace and stillness before the mayhem of starting my remote learning and my school day kicks in. After a busy day, this might sound silly, but I love just putting on TV. TV has become my saviour. That might sound a bit sad, but it's something that I can just watch, and my mind then doesn't go to anything else, and I just focus on that TV. Or if that's not working, again, I will go for another walk. The best gift you can give yourselves is actually permission to carve out pockets of time in your day to do the things that empty your stress buckets. Turn that tap on. Acknowledge that you need to look after yourselves. What else could you do to look after yourself, especially during lockdown, and I want you to use this half term to reset. Talk about stress and its effects. Talk about it at home. You're living with family or friends, and actually I'm sure everybody is feeling the same. Share your coping mechanisms. Talk about what's worked and why it's worked, and maybe others could benefit from that as well. Be nice to those around you that are stressed, and also look after yourself. Think about self-care. The most crucial thing that you can do when stressed or anxious is make sure you are continuing to look after yourself. Make time to relax when you need to, and look after yourself. Please use this half term to reset, empty your bucket, and also, this is the most important thing I'd say, laugh. Find something or someone to make you laugh. Laughing is and will always be the best form of therapy. Have a fantastic term, everybody, and I look forward to speaking to you when back. Take care.